Hey guys, what's going on? Laying back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about The Great Seduction. The Great Seduction is a Mexican comedy drama that tells the story of Herman, a villager residing in the island of Santa Maria. Though he's passionate and dedicated to his home, the community finds itself fading away, as a fishing corporation takes over jobs in the area, leaving citizens unemployed and many being forced to move away for work. Herman learns of a funding opportunity by the corporation that will commit to work being brought back to the village if they can successfully recruit a doctor to live there permanently. Herman and the village must work together to make the island as presentable as possible in an attempt to woo the Dr. Mateo to stay, which ultimately proves easier said than done. As someone who lives in a rural community, I found myself relating to this movie almost immediately, and it certainly helps that it's a charming and well-written story. It does have some issues here and there, but it's still a thoughtful observation on the importance of rural communities and the consequences of deception, while presenting its themes in an endearing manner. The main character, Herman, is a likable guy right from the start, which is funny considering the lengths he goes to saving his town. He's a dedicated man who believes in the future of his home, and it's hard not to sympathize with him as he becomes increasingly more devastated by people leaving the island, including his own family. He takes matters into his own hands and rallies the villagers together to think of different ways to retain a doctor and save their home. It was inspiring to see him so passionate about his home. Even though he ends up causing conflict himself, he never tries to hurt anyone on purpose, and his charismatic persona made me intrigued to see how he would overcome his setbacks. The doctor the villagers end up trying to swoon, named Mateo, wasn't quite as memorable by comparison. He's a typical city boy whose interests differ from those of Santa Maria, and while he isn't portrayed all that badly, he just doesn't have the same degree of personality compared to Herman. The only notable backstory behind him is his long-distance relationship with his fiancée. I like that it adds some emotional resonance to his character with how he occasionally feels homesick, but aside from that, he just doesn't stand out all that much as a guy who's reluctant to change his way of life. The relationship between the doctor and townspeople is slow to build, which if you think about it actually makes sense. Mateo experiences an awkward transitional period between his city lifestyle and Santa Maria's way of life, so the dynamics between him and everyone else feel natural. As the story progresses, Mateo is slowly won over by the rustic appeal of the island, as well as concessions being made by the islanders to appeal to him, without him realizing that it's all part of the plan to keep him there. It's this slow burn scenario that makes the movie as fun to watch as it is. The Great Seduction is the main highlight of the movie, especially in terms of comedic entertainment. The villagers practically fall over themselves trying to win Mateo over while spying on him at the same time, which results in them getting involved in increasingly ridiculous shenanigans that are hilarious to watch. Whether it involves the villagers pretending to be interested in American football and making equipment out of watermelons, pretending to be fans of rock music, or pretending to have a competing doctor in town, there's never a dull moment on screen. As the lies escalate, the movie becomes even more fun to watch as Herman tries to dig himself out of the hole he's made. The best part about it, though, is that even though the act of deception by Herman is dishonest, it never feels mean-spirited. Everything that Herman does is out of love for the community he calls home, so I appreciated how well the movie was able to show the drama involved with a slow town slowly dying away, while also maintaining a mostly light and breezy tone. This being said, The Great Seduction isn't flawless in execution. For some reason, it always feels lopsided in terms of pacing, as the movie tended to flip back and forth in the first and second acts between Mateo wanting to leave and wanting to stay, and it never felt consistent until it started building toward the finale. I was also a bit confused by some of the plot devices used throughout the story. There's a few times where the deception related to Mateo isn't followed up properly, like when they cook his favorite dish of chicken tikka masala and it never reveals how it ends up looking, or when Mateo and another villager named Anna supposedly have a crush, yet their dynamic never goes anywhere. Despite these weird hiccups, the movie remains a lot of fun to watch, and a part of that is because of the setting it takes place in. There's just a certain charm behind it with its anachronistic buildings and technology, cheesy home decorations, and how everyone knows each other. As someone who's lived in a rural area for most of my life, I was impressed with the kind of atmosphere it was able to pull off. It perfectly captures the heart and spirit of a small town community, warts and all, and I enjoyed how all the characters had their own unique role to play, no matter how insignificant it appears to be. The whole narrative surrounding the corporation taking over the local economy is a bit tropey, but the struggles behind it are still conveyed well. Everyone works hard together to ensure the future of their home, and it's a feeling I found myself relating to on a personal level. My own town is stagnating as well, for reasons a bit different than those in this movie, but I still connected with the pain of the characters regarding their loss of their home and sense of status. The movie does a great job at showing the size of the fighting spirit a small town can have, and this helped me relate better to their struggle along with my own personal connection. Though the people of Santa Maria do their best to stay optimistic, they find themselves weighed down by their town slowly disappearing, and this ties into the central themes of the movie. It explores the cultural erasure that comes from people being forced to adapt or move on from their previously established lifestyle, and it does a good job at doing so from multiple perspectives. Between Herman being forced to resort to lies and deception in order to survive, to Mateo having to adapt to his new circumstances, change is always on the horizon and it never comes easy. There's a real sense of fear that's communicated from people having to transform their ways of life and the consequences that come from doing so, and I love how the movie examines this from a more hopeful perspective. Overall, The Great Seduction is a fitting title for this movie, as it's a great dramedy that shows how far one's determination can go, and sometimes to its detriment. If you like dramedies and want to see one explore social themes in a much more intimate setting, you'd enjoy checking this out. The story needs fine-tuning in some places, but the humor and emotional resonance of its plot and characters still come through in the end. While I wouldn't necessarily say it's seductive in nature, it's definitely well worth a watch, especially if you're a small town boy like me. What did you think about this movie? Did you enjoy how it explored the social dynamics of a small town culture, or do you think it could have been handled better? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of The Great Seduction. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American romantic comedy, Choose Love. Bye bye!